Hello and welcome into the SorareData Game Week 409 preview. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare. Joined today by CaniSports, who I was just peppering Bayern Munich questions to. And then I was like, man, I really should have saved this for the show, but maybe I get a little inside info. Not sure.
Yeah.
Chani would, of course, share it with everybody. Chani, thanks so much for joining me this week.
Happy to join. As you said, like Game Week 409, I was like, wow, I've been here long.
I had the same thought the other day.
Yeah.
It was actually much less when I was looking back at some reward, and I was like, oh, I won this back in 212, and we're at 409. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's nice that it's still around here at 409.
Hey,
I'd say.
good stuff. Let's hope we reached 1,000.
That's right. That's right. So we're here. Obviously, we're in this weird spot where we're looking ahead to 409, and there are still tons of matches to be played in 408. Those are all happening today. I have like full SO5 lineups that have no players that have played yet. And which makes today both exciting and
scary,
also stressful, I guess. But the toughest thing that I think all of us face in just this type of game week is you've got the packed midweek, but before everything really settles down, we'll have all the matches played, but if any news comes or anything happens today, we won't necessarily get press conferences early tomorrow for matches on Sunday or Monday. What are some of the things that you do before we go into the games that will happen this weekend? Like, what do you do to hopefully comb through? Are my guys that played on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday going to play this weekend?
So ideally, you have to have the info on your players for this midweek. So if you heard anything about like this guy's going to be rested, because there's already news about Fener resting a bunch of players against Nordsjælland, that's going to hurt a lot of people. So that type of stuff you need to pay attention to, and then carry that information obviously into the weekends. But I think generally right now, this is where you kind of learn the rotation patterns that might be happening. And this next weekend game week is possibly one of the toughest ones in terms of avoiding DMPs, because this is the first time it's happening this season. And it's like such an odd thing because a lot of teams want to do extremely well in their first game of the Champions League, Europa League, Conference League, whatever. And now it's a bit, you don't know what to expect on a weekend. It's really odd.
Yeah, the toughest thing is because I feel like there was some talk that teams were going to rotate for this midweek, and some of them have. I feel like a lot of the ones that were actually coming today. Mike Baston was saying the Fener news is upsetting a lot of people.
Yeah.
So there's some of that. I know the Sorare Scandinavia Discord was all fired up that Victor Claesson didn't start against Galatasaray this week. And then it was like, well, then surely he will play this weekend. But it was like, that's a big game. So if he didn't play it, maybe he's actually hurt and we don't know. And there's just a lot of hesitation, I think, with teams that didn't rotate in this midweek, because then you're like, well, what do we do for this weekend? And I'm going to jump right into our matchups page here and just the team that you and I were talking about. Bayern Munich are the biggest favorite of the entire game week as of right now. And I was like, well, surely Mazraoui starts, right? Because he didn't start last weekend. He didn't get the start midweek. And you're like, I don't think so. But but those are the kind of the considerations we have. And like these matchups, we got Man City at home against Nottingham Forest, Sporting at home against Rio Ave, Salzburg against this newly promoted side I didn't know existed until I won their goalie a few weeks ago. But if they rotate, like I kind of said this last week with some matches, like these are the games you buy these players for, so they couldn't go out and just smash. And now we're having this situation where they might actually not play.
Yeah, these are also the situations where some people that might be smarter than us expected the best players to play weekends and know exactly who is going to play now on the weekend because they have an easier matchup coming. So there's probably going to be a lot of rotation in some of the top teams. So for the Bayern example, Tuchel has been hanging on to a bunch of the players in the starting lineup, not rotating them, despite having really good options off the bench that people want to see. And some of them even coming on and doing a great job, like Mathis Tel. He has saved Bayern in the past 3 games. He is just on fire.
He's
So
so
one of
good.
my favorite talents in the world right now, and I'm so happy that he plays with another one of my favorites, which is Musiala. So it's going to be a joy to see him play in the starting level at some point. I'm really excited for that. But you see, even though some people come off the bench and perform, they're just not getting that starting spot, and it's just down to the coaches. And it really brings an aspect into the game where you just can't read into their minds. Some coaches you can, you know exactly the rotation patterns, but some people are extremely unreasonable, like Thomas, and they just let Delicht, rot on the bench.
And unfortunately, the uh, Kim and Upamecano are not like old players that they are like, boy, we should really rest them. Like there's
Yeah.
every every reason to think that they would play. So I don't know. The one that jumps out at me is Sporting, completely selfishly because I have a bunch of Sporting guys. But there was an expectation that they would actually rotate today. The match isn't for another few hours, so we won't know. But rotation today at least makes the weekend a little easier. But it doesn't make it any easier if they don't rotate, because while they do have like kind of an easier fixture this weekend, it's early. I feel like it's early in the league season to just be like giving points away just with
Hmm.
a rotation. But this is all these things that I just try to convince myself of. And then inevitably the DNPs come and I was like,
Yeah.
maybe I should have seen this coming. I'm not even sure yet, but
Like
I don't
these are the times where it's the only time where I dread opening up my Sorare app. I'm like, I get that notification of the starting 11. Like, I have to do a prayer first, and then I open it up. Like, please, God, please. And
yeah,
then you
exactly.
open it, you
Please.
look for their pictures, and the worst is when it's not in the usual spot. So if the formation changed or something for some weird reason, and you're like, no, he's not there. Oh, he's there. All good. We got it. He's playing.
As someone who has dealt with Opta for years, they're just like when lineups come out, they don't always have the positions right, and they'll
Mhm.
adjust them before. So it's exactly that situation where you're like,
Yeah.
wait, why isn't he? And you're like, oh, they have him at, right wing
Goalkeeper.
back when he's actually a striker or something like that. And you're like, oh, that's not right. And then it'll change, but people get
Yeah.
all fired up because they miss it. So let's dive into at least the league specific ones, because I feel like this happened a bit last week where we saw some like very big favorites from Challenger, which we have again this week with Salzburg and Sporting. But I don't want to give away that stuff yet. So let's go to the one
Okay.
that everybody really cares about, Second Division Europe.
Hey.
Shout out to Gator Guy here because Hamburger are the top favorite, but nothing is that nobody's that big of a favorite. So I'm not sure. And I said this for the midweek, and SR Monkey gave me some crap on Twitter, understandably, that I was like, I don't think anybody's going to win much with second division players this week. And I think he's currently sitting 10th in cap 270 with a Watford stack.
There
And I
you
was
go.
like, man, that's all right. You got me. He also, I
Yeah.
believe, is winning second division Europe. So you can win second division Europe with second division cards. Just
Yeah.
throwing that out there.
Who would have
But
thought?
who would have thought? Exactly. But the big ones, biggest favorites: Hamburg, Leicester. I don't think Ipswich even has cards. In fact, a
I
lot
don't
of
think
these
they do.
teams, I don't think all. Well, I guess most of them have some, but
Yeah.
nobody's jumping out at me that it's like, man, you should really have players from this team. And
Yeah, same here.
yeah,
It's probably like, I guess, more you can rely on like the offense of certain teams, probably some like semi stacks. But I don't
yep,
see any of those lineups, and I'm like, yeah, definitely clean sheet. At least from my knowledge. Like obviously I don't know every single club that we're looking at right there, but um there's definitely a couple of teams that probably are in a great spot to score a bunch of goals and do well. I mean, especially Hamburg at the top, of course. Osnabrück isn't necessarily doing too well. I don't know if Glatzel is fit, but if he plays, I would assume he scores at least one goal against that
yeah,
side.
yeah. His scores are incredible, and
He
let me
should play
pull
for
him
the
up.
German national team. I'm not even kidding. Like,
That's quite
I
a call.
think we don't have a striker. We really do not have any strikers right now. And I've seen him play. Of course, the scores are not bad at all. They're decent, serviceable in some
Mhm.
cases. But generally, from his ability as a striker, I feel like he would fit in really nicely and just do a job. We just don't have anyone. We have Fulkrug, yes, but he has to push himself through against Haller into the starting 11 at Dortmund. So, yeah. Yeah, Osnabrück lost 7-0 against Hannover last week. That's why I expect them to concede a lot of goals. Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised because I was looking at this earlier. Shuto Machino, I don't even know who he plays for now. Holstein? Is that what that
Holstein
says?
Kiel. Yeah.
Is the top play of the entire game week for second division Europe,
Hmm.
which I tried to play this last week where I'm trying to use, not I'm trying, I have considered using pick scores to make anytime goal scorer bets because there
Oh,
was one last week. Vincent Janssen from Antwerp was a triple A, and it's like the only way he deserves a triple A is that he scores because his
yeah.
AA is just not high enough. And yeah, he scored easily, and it was just like, okay,
Yeah. I've been
maybe
thinking
that's
about
something
that
else
too,
to
you
do.
know. I've been thinking about looking at the games, matchups, and just betting on the first 10 teams that are in there. You know, the first 10 teams that have good matchups to win, just bet on them to win. I've been thinking about that too, just as like a fun side project to see what happens.
To see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
It. Yeah, I think it's one of these that with second division, I feel like I feel like I see these matchups. I'm like, okay, this should be a clean sheet, whatever it is, and then yeah, you get like a 4-3, and I'm like, it's a reminder that I really know nothing about the second division Europe,
Yeah.
and it's just like, okay, I'll just rely on the.
That's where people obviously can gain a massive advantage, right? Like everyone can know about Liverpool's starting 11, but and their opponents, of course. But those second divisions, if you have, let's say, a collection of one of these teams, and you know everything about the club, you already have a big advantage against anyone else that is playing the division you're jumping into. And yeah, I think if you have that Magdeburg stack now, and you're aware of Paderborn not necessarily being the best at defending, maybe you just stack up two forwards and a midfielder in that team that you're lining up and trying to get the best out of it. So I really like that part of the game where we have these second divisions where knowledge is key.
It does feel like it's the last. I actually don't want to say it's the last, but it's one of the last places where a knowledge edge really exists. That
Yeah.
champion Europe. There's enough news pretty much on every team that you usually don't know something that most other people don't. But second division Europe is definitely a good one. But another one is Asia, which
Oh yeah.
I I don't even ever know what to say about Asia. It
Do
looks
you play
like,
Asia
yeah,
still? Do you have teams running in there?
I don't run teams in Asia. No,
Okay.
I have Asia cards, but I almost never run an actual Asia lineup.
Okay.
Um, Mostly because I don't want any more Asia cards. And so
Mm.
entering a contest where I can only win Asia cards just doesn't make sense for me. But yeah, I'll use a few here and there. And it doesn't look like there are any like huge favorites here either. It looks like the kind of the bigger teams are at least away. Ulsan probably destroys Suwon, but that's another. They had Champions League this week, so it's another uh, potential rotation issue that we have for a number of these Asia teams. That, like I said, nothing. Even like the my beloved Wuhan Three Towns isn't even like a huge favorite this week. And so I feel
Mm.
like those are the weeks where we're all of a sudden we're like, oh yeah. And those are like random guys that Nep has, like Davidson bangs 100 and you're just like, oh, it was a Davidson week. Great. I don't have that guy either.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, there's only three teams there with a win percentage above 50, and it kind
right.
of like, actually, no, there's a couple more below. I'm just seeing, but like, there's not that many, and only one really convincing one, and that team plays away. So
Yeah.
it doesn't look
Uh,
like there are too many power stacks coming out of there this week.
Glenn here says that Ulsan rotated a decent amount midweek, so they should
Ah,
go
there you go.
strong this weekend. But
See the knowledge edge.
there we go. Now we all have it. Although sorry, Josh is the other way. Asia's all over the place at the moment because the top teams have AFC midweeks, and so I got burned by Alexander Grant getting rested this midweek for Pohang. And I was like, it was some great matchup. I don't even know.
After the Messi burn. Yeah, I seen that too.
Yeah, Pohang away to Daegu this week, which isn't like a terrible matchup, but it's also not really that great. And then Mike Basson, how dare you say that the safest stack here is away to my Urawa. Oh, no, that's not Urawa. Excuse me. No wonder. All right. I'll let you have that one. So Sanfrecce, Hiroshima should have a decent game week. Yeah. I think they were pretty good last week, if I remember, because Tuggy's got the stack and he did pretty well.
Oh, no.
I'm going to quickly go over to America, mostly because I got some early morning for me slander from my friend Andy Black, because Santos Laguna players, I believe there are 3 Santos Laguna players in, what was it? I think it was America Limited, as part of a lineup that had a strength indicator score of 100.
Oh,
and he was like, there's no way Santos players should be this high.
wow.
And they're a big favorite basically against a team that concedes a decent amount of points. I think there are a number of midweek matches, so that's why we don't have odds for like Argentinos. I don't think River Plate. Do we have River Plate
As you
odds?
scroll down there, when you were at Santos, I was just looking at all teams. Everyone was playing at home. I'm like, is no one playing away? What's going on?
There are no away games. Away games this week.
0 away games. Everyone's playing at
No,
home.
Do you still have that Brunetta card?
No. I again.
I assume that one's long gone. Yeah,
in the summer. Yeah. But he's doing well, isn't he?
He has picked it up lately, and so he's part of this Santos play that is supposed to be really good this week. Let me just go to America, because I'm pretty sure he was one of the top players, like overall. So he's first.
Both positions, first and second.
Yeah, so he's the top play, but then they also had Preciado, Felix Torres, and like Santos fantasy point wise is expected to like absolutely crush this week. And
yeah, I assume they have no midweek or anything like that.
No.
Yeah, so they're probably gonna crush whoever's 18th in their league. Good luck to those guys.
Yeah, it could get ugly. I did see LDU Kyoto is the top favorite that we have now.
Nep will be happy.
I was gonna say, so I assume Nep is just gonna clean up this weekend. There's no way he cannot. Nothing possibly could go wrong.
Hey,
just congrats. We shouldn't even play. Nep, just take Champion America. You win.
Just get a good score for the monthlies and All-Star. Put them in there.
There you go. I was just looking back at my All-Star Rare Pro. Man, you would have thought that I just haven't even tried this entire month. My scores are so bad there. But yeah, so we have other decent favorites. Mineiro, New York City FC home against Toronto. That team is a total fraud, though, so I don't even trust that. Atlanta now home against Miami, or no, that's Montreal. So that's a decent matchup. Montreal, we see here with the opponent scores, give up just a ton of points to everyone who plays against them. So if you have any Atlanta guys, it's going to be a big Almada game.
Yeah.
And Portland home against Colorado. That's a decent one from MLS. And then Orlando, I'm guessing, was not as big of a favorite earlier, but now they are, with Messi and Jordi Alba not playing this weekend after Messi came off early yesterday. So they also have US Open Cup final next week, which is like our domestic cup, and Miami's in the final. And so I think they're saving Messi for that, so he can get his second trophy in 2 months that he's been here. They'll just start making up additional competitions so he can
keep, he can lift the trophy.
Exactly. Just more trophies after more trophies. And Mike pointed out that River are the highest away team to, and there they are at 45% against Banfield. So
is rotation still crazy at River Plate, or do they have a settled team now?
They play tonight. So my guess is they will rotate this weekend. The expectation is they go full strength tonight, and they'll possibly rotate this weekend. So we'll see. Unfortunately, it's like late tonight, and the only news that we'll get is if somebody literally gets hurt during the game. And so not envying people like me who have to rely on that. Let's hit up Challenger for this weekend. Like we said, We've got some decently big favorites on teams that have a lot of cards. How are you feeling for Challenger?
I think if I'm in a position where I'm focused on Challenger, ideally I would love to have a team that has a good matchup now that didn't play midweek. I don't
Yeah.
necessarily see any in there from the ones we're looking at, possibly. So looks like most of the best matchups have some rotation risk involved, which is probably a good thing for All Star. Um, but
Here's unfortunately the problem that Alex brings up. Zenit is going to end
Zenit,
up smashing.
oh, is Loco doing really bad right now? Is that what it is? I
I
mean,
mean,
Zenit
they're
smashes anyone, anyways. But yeah,
right. I mean, I just kind of view it as they have the same odds as Besiktas against Kayserispor,
mm,
and you would expect them to score really well, and so I
yeah.
would just assume Zenit
Oh
did
yeah, they
too.
don't have Europe, right? Yeah.
Right.
So of course, yeah, that makes sense. That's probably the best matchup then. um, but yeah, if we scroll up again, let's take a look at the rest there. Um, I assume. I mean, when I looked at the Salzburg team, I was kind of surprised to see a couple names in there that I didn't see last season. So I assume they kind of changed their starting 11. Or let's see the formation there. So the Baidu guy, I had no idea who he is. I think he came in for Solé, right?
Mm-hmm.
Simic is another one that surprises me. Konate, obviously, I've heard of because he's a big talent and stuff. But is that usually their best starting 11? Oh, Solé came on, so I assume he could play on the weekend then.
Yeah, I guess he's back.
Okay,
That'd be
so
huge.
that's gonna be big. Yeah, if they rotate those players that are on the bench into the starting 11, if you can rely on those, then Salzburg probably has a really really good matchup to dominate in that
Yeah.
region, as SorareData predicts. With Sporting again, Champions League football, we'll see what happens. Like there are so many question marks there. If we didn't have the midweek issue, I'd just say like PSV with the role they've been on in the Eredivisie, another
Mm-hmm.
Yemen 100, and
Yeah.
easy game with like 4 goals and 8 decisives in there. Right.
I mean, they have midweek. It's next week too, isn't it?
Um, I believe so, right?
Yeah, I thought aren't the return legs next week? I'll just use Alexander Schlager to make sure that that's the case. 409. Oh no. Oh, sorry. Okay, so they do have a week off.
Okay, so then they are probably going to go full strength there because they'll have a bit of time to adjust. Actually, PSV play 409, 410, 410, and then 411. So they
Who
play
is 410?
Go Ahead Eagles.
Oh, is there
So PSV
midweek Eredivisie?
really have a stacked schedule. Like all 4 game weeks coming up, they are playing.
Here we go. Alex said Ghent, Bruges, Genk, and Antwerp also have midweek games next
Yeah.
week.
Again, like this is one of the toughest game weeks people will experience on like this season. This is where you find out so much stuff about rotation. Definitely pay attention to how your players have been lined up or their teams have been lined up on the weekend and now on the midweek as well to know what you could possibly expect here.
do trying to let's see. Do you still? Oh, you don't still have them. So Mike Baston pointed out that the hidden gem this week is Heronveen, who
Uh-huh.
is right here, 59% chance to win. If there is ever a team that needs an easier game or a player specifically who could use one, it's
Yeah.
Noppert, who
Oh, poor
comes
fella.
in struggling a little bit. I'll even take his Netherlands games out, but 10,
Yeah.
27, and 7 are his last 3 scores.
Those are rough. Yeah, those were really rough. Yeah. Does not look good at all. But hey, hopefully he can turn it around now because I mean, if he doesn't concede 3, normally you get at least something decent out of Noppert. That's what he's
Yeah.
been known for. But I remember back when I got him before his injury, he had like 14 AA in the last 15 or something. And that has kind of changed. I don't know if Hedenwe's starting 11 changed in any way. Have they lost any midfielders possibly that were covering the defense or defenders specifically that left the squad? But I think that Bochnevitz guy is still there.
Yep.
That was like the power stack to have
Yeah, I
from
love that one. Yeah.
yeah. So It's odd seeing Headingley struggle this much, but there's there's tough games still coming up, like Twente, AZ. It's not getting easier.
So they really do just alternate good games from games that
Yeah,
you totally want to avoid. Like Excelsior at
yeah,
home this week, away to Twente, home against NEC,
yeah.
away to
Oh
AZ,
wow,
home
it
against
continues.
Pericles, away to Ajax. Like it's terrible
Oh
until
wow,
you get to
yeah,
November and then it kind of loosens up a little bit. But
yeah. That's odd. Yeah, at least you
yeah,
know when to not use them. Great for cap modes. Yeah, of course.
yeah, it's it. So I before the season was thinking of like a small Heronbean stack of Noppert, Bolshnevitz, and Tom Hay. And Hay was supposed to go to Sunderland. Noppert was supposed to go to Ajax. And that just left me like I didn't want to buy 3 players and then have 2 of them
Yeah,
leave. I was like, all right, forget it. And then they all stay. And it was like, okay, maybe I should have done this. And then Noppert goes on this run here. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll get him cheap.
yeah. Like if anyone wanted to get him, I guess now could be a time to look at it because a lot of people have sold, like myself, um, and moved on to different things. I think yeah, like if you want to buy players where you're very confident that things will turn around again, these are kind of the times to get involved. But then again,
Yeah.
people know that with Notput, you can see it in those sales. Like it hasn't necessarily fluctuated like crazy. He hasn't dropped below 500. So yeah.
Yeah. I, I was hoping for more panic, and there was no
Mm,
panic, unfortunately.
mhm.
Alex said, I remember the days when Hay was stupidly expensive. So I think that the issue with Tom Hay is that he didn't have that many cards. I think he like missed a season or something like that. And so there was a time where, yeah, his cards were, yeah, like 800
Mm,
for a card that is now
that's really good
350.
for a hidden vein player. That's very expensive.
I mean, his scores at some point were just absurd, like just all greens.
Mm. It's like one of those that you want to have as a super rare, ideally,
Yes,
right?
totally. Yep,
Those low scores, the 59s and stuff, they still carry you over.
exactly. Exactly.
Mm,
So yeah, I like that hidden gem there of Heronveen. And then, I mean, AZ's got a decent matchup this weekend. Yeah, it just seems like everybody is away.
mm.
Um, but obviously, we all just want Midtjylland to spank this weekend. That's
They had no
obviously
midweek, I assume?
no midweeks. It was
Hey,
one
there
of
you
those
go.
that they lost their conference league qualifier to Legia Warsaw, and it was like there goes their midweek utility. But it's like, but also this team is not deep enough or even good enough to compete midweek, weekend, mid. So I think they played. They either made it either 11 or 13 game weeks in a row that they played, and they've been awful because they're not a
Ready for
team like
that,
that
yeah.
is not good enough to play 11 game weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And so the yeah, that's what we want. Alex Wilson said, I would not say no to a Lee Han Bum debut, but he is gone, I believe, for the Asia games already. So
Oh,
um,
that's
I would
inconvenient.
also wouldn't say no, but I don't think he's there. I'm pretty sure they're gone already. So we'll have to wait until I don't know
There are
another at
definitely
least
some
another
hidden
month.
gems in there, like in that list. I think there are a bunch of decent matchup even when you scroll down there earlier. I think Klagenfurt is a decent one. They have a good matchup at home. If you scroll even further, just a little bit, I think it was right there. Austria Klagenfurt playing at home. That could be a decent one. There are plenty of serviceable matches, but again, like the best ones that we saw at the top, it's just like you gotta try and compile the risk into one lineup,
Yes.
possibly. Like that's one thing I love to do when I know that, hey, I'm not too sure if this guy's gonna play. Let me see if I have other players that are also probably not likely to play and see if I can fit them into cap 270 or something like that. That's like the ideal spot to utilize those players. And if they play, hey, great. You got some good players on a good team, or you had some rotation worries possibly that you can now throw into that lineup and get something out of it.
It does feel like a game week where, yeah, just Heron or these other teams that are able to avoid the midweeks,
Mm.
and you can say, all right, maybe this is a week, and oh man, and then I just like scroll past Zenit, and I'm like, damn it, I forgot they're there too. This is
Yeah,
when,
I'd
we
be
see the
surprised if
tweet
we
from
have.
Josh Forth on Friday, and he's just like, "How's everyone's lineups looking?" And you're
Yeah.
just like, "Oh my god, what?"
But I wouldn't be surprised if we have a lower score, like in the top 20s of the All Star rares, and like specifically the regions as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we have generally a bit lower scores on average due to a lot of those DMPs that will affect stuff. Like those people who can put out a starting five with a good matchup, they are already in a great position, I think.
So I'm really glad you brought that up because I think I mentioned it on Monday's preview for the midweek, but it just felt like we see the matchups, the ones from last week, and I was giving Quinny kind of a bit of a hard time because like Celtic were the biggest favorite. They won 3-0, and a lot of the other teams that were big favorites, they won, and it just didn't feel like the scores to win rewards was that high. Like I think at the time, All Star was being won at like 440, and
Mhm.
that's not that
Yeah, that's
high.
like old All Star.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Let me go back to
just back in the
407.
212
Yeah, like
days.
499 is
Mm,
high, but I
yeah,
feel like we're used to seeing All Star well over 500,
yeah.
and the what felt like a ton of lopsided matchups led to would have led to high scoring, and it
Mhm,
didn't happen. And Quinny was like, "Yeah, well, the problem was people just made the wrong lineups. Like everyone had four really good players, and then like one that kind of struggled." And I
mm,
think part of that was from preemptive rotation before the midweek. Like you thought you would have the top team, and then like one guy doesn't play, or he comes
mm,
off at 55 minutes to get him ready for the midweek, and that kind of helped explain why the scores weren't so high. And
yeah,
then we obviously have more games going this week or for this midweek, but we see like 481 wins All Star Limited today. But again, there are a lot of games left today.
yeah,
But given what we know about the rotation or expected rotation, I agree with you that it doesn't feel like it's going to be like a monster week. And
mm.
not because the matchups aren't there, but just because you could have somebody that always start like I'll knock on wood here. Joey Veerman doesn't start, and all of a sudden your lineup that has Joey Veerman is like
Please no.
it's dead.
Don't do that to me.
Sorry, it was like the first. I had to think of like the best card possible, and so
Yeah.
that's what came
To
into
be
my head.
fair,
But
he pretty much is, apart from Champions League football, obviously. But at least we can hope that they get third place and drop into Europa League, so he's even more serviceable. Then that's the
that's all
hope.
we want out of the Champions League,
Yeah.
just a drop to the drop to
Yeah,
Europe.
literally. That's what it is, isn't it? I'm like, if Liverpool don't make it, at least get like do something. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously they don't play Champions League this season. I'm so used to it. But yeah, like if I have Manchester United players, I'm I'm kind of hoping we drop into Europa
yeah.
League to have some
Well,
good
it
matches
was
there.
the Haber has like the best situation because he has three stacks of three teams in the same group. So like you
Oh
almost
yeah, I see.
know that one is going to finish third. Although I say that, and Man United looks so bad that the I don't think Copenhagen finishes ahead of them. But
Yeah, United looked odd. Yeah.
Mike Basson was asked serious question: how quickly does SorareData update these ratings with today's games still to play? Does it update all at set times or update after any updates after each match? So the opponent scores are based on competition. So these are like points allowed by who do they play? Bochum?
I
Is it
assume
Bochum
that
or
doesn't
Bochum?
really change. Bochum.
Bochum.
Yeah.
I think I got pretty good. All right.
Yeah. There you
But
go.
anyway, so these are like points allowed during Bundesliga play. So it's not, it won't change this midweek because they're not playing Bundesliga matches. And then if odds change, like they'll update throughout. So they're updated quite frequently. But like the stats probably themselves won't change because there's nothing happening from the last
Mm.
match until these start. So champion Europe, everybody's favorite competition: Bayern, Man City, Leverkusen, Barcelona, Inter Milan, and AC Milan. Seem like they should just collect. There is obviously rotation there. I
I
think we're
love seeing
expecting
this
rotation.
screen. This screen looks so good. I have Iron players, Leverkusen players, Barca players. I'm gonna do this. Barca defensive stack combined with the Leverkusen offensive stack. That's the way to go. Because like Ter Stegen and Kunde are getting insane scores all the time
Yeah,
for
they
me.
are.
And obviously Palacios, Wirtz, and now I have Boniface as well. That's gonna be fun. But I gotta say this: I don't think Bayer Leverkusen keep a clean sheet. I think Heidenheim have pretty much scored against most people in the league already. Jan-Niklas Beste, who was doing incredible things in the second division last season, one of the better cards to have, he is still performing extremely well. So yeah,
Yeah, they scored 2
I
against
think they're going to
Hoffenheim,
score.
2 against Dortmund, and 4 against Bremen.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet on a clean sheet on that game for Leverkusen. I think they're going to concede, but it's just going to be the simple Leverkusen style. We're just going to outscore you type thing. But
As a
Bayern
Jonas
again,
Hoffman card owner, bring it.
yeah, exactly. I think Bayern at the top, that's one of the risky ones because no one can read into what the hell Tuchel is doing. Like, I wish I knew if Musiala is going to start that game or if he's going to go ahead and like save him up for the Champions League again. It's such an odd situation to be in. Like, I wish we had a more clear cut coach who actually knows what he's doing and knows how to rotate the proper players. But this game, Bochum, if he doesn't want to rely on De Ligt as a starter, this is where he should play him. This is where Mazraoui should play because apparently he likes Konrad Leimer so much. So just put Konrad Leimer into the priority team and have De Ligt and Mazraoui come in there. Midfield, I don't necessarily see much changing. Obviously, Gravenberch left, so I think Kimmich and Goretzka pretty much have to play every game right now,
Sure, yeah.
unless he wants to move Lima into the midfield and just play Mazraoui as a right back. That's also an option. In the attacking spots, I wouldn't be surprised if Matistel starts this game. I would say that he has a really good chance of starting instead of Gnabry. Oh, Bayern have the FA Pokal on Tuesday. Okay, I didn't know that. That's that. Oh wow, that makes things even more complicated.
That's so annoying because
Oh,
like that would be where De Ligt and Mazraoui, those are the 2 players that Chani and I care about the most here. Well, maybe not the
who
most,
are we
but the ones that
playing against?
we need them in.
So Bayern plays against Preußen Münster. I mean, I wouldn't be too scared of them. They do play in the third division and they are 15th. So
Wow.
yeah, don't expect Bayern to prioritize the German Cup at all. Then, but the German league is known for those types of upsets. I love how
Didn't we have
comfortable
one
Jenny
last
is
year? Was it
criticizing a
Bayern early
Champions.
last year?
Sorry.
Was it Bayern early last year that got eliminated? Some big club got eliminated, I thought, pretty
I
early
mean,
last
it's
year.
legit like every single match day for the German Cup, there is at least one top division team that gets kicked out by a second division. It's just normal. I think Werder Bremen got already kicked out by some lower division side, but yeah. But Pado says, I love how comfortable Jenny is criticizing a Champions League winning coach. Here's the thing, I am extremely biased against Thomas Tuchel. I never liked him. I always thought he was just, taking jobs that Klopp already did, where he already established something great and just come in and, act like he built it up. And at Bayern, there are issues that are quite public already with the way he's been handling Kimmich, with the way he's been saying that Kimmich is not a 6 and that he needs that 6 desperately, has been very public about it, still didn't manage to get that 6, which might not be down to him, but generally speaking, there's just so much going on with Thomas Tuchel constantly. Like, it's too much drama. I wish we just played our football and, we knew exactly who's going to start, who's going to do what. But with him, it's like, you just don't know what's going to happen. One game we could win 6-0, and the next game we look awful. As a Bayern fan, I wish we kept Nagelsmann. But hey, he gets to coach the German national team now, so that's a good one.
There you go. Still got it, yeah.
Yeah.
The constant pep roulette jokes, I feel like, will reach a max this weekend because they have every reason to rotate as much as they could possibly want home against Nottingham Forest. As somebody with a couple of these guys, it's weird. I feel like on the one side, all I hear is how they're not that deep, and so they
Mm.
can't really rotate that much. And I feel like it's just going to be thrown in our face this weekend, where anyone who came off the bench in this Champions League game against Red Star will end up starting. As that's Doku, Kanji. I can't see Calvin Phillips actually starting, but he's there, and so I don't know. It gets a little. I don't know. I have Alvarez, I have Ruben Diaz, and I feel like both of them could start, or both of them. It's just a mess.
Yeah, I personally just wonder with City what's going to happen with KDB when he's back, because Alvarez has been incredible.
Yeah,
Like, he has been amazing. He has stepped up right when they needed him, and players like that are so valuable to the team. So I really wonder what's going to happen with him. It's amazing to see with these players what has happened with them. Right, Enzo at Benfica at first, and then Alvarez straight away to City, and immediately has an impact. Like, I love seeing stuff like that. But going back on the weekend against Nottingham, as you said, I expect lots of rotation there. But it could be somewhat predictable for certain players in certain positions. With others, maybe not as much, as you said, with Calvin Phillips and stuff. But yeah, you can't expect the coach to put out a whole new starting 11. That just, yeah, it's not going to happen, I think.
yeah, and
Certain players there will have to play.
right. That's my thought.
Mm.
Speaking of that, though, I've seen a few people say this recently, and I'm in this spot where I'm like, you don't think this way, but people are trying to make lineup decision, and it's something like this. Let's say I'm trying to think of someone who's like a little more on the free. Oh, I guess Doku fits, or Bernardo Silva, where you think he might not start, but he could always get a decisive off the bench. That's just how you kill a lineup completely. That he
Yeah.
could get something off the bench is just, once you start thinking that, you really should just take them out of the equation,
Yeah,
because
especially if you put them together with players where you know they're going to start. So let's
yeah,
say you have 4 players, you know they're going to start, and then you have, let's say, a Doku, and you just don't know if he's going to start, but like, oh, maybe he comes off the bench and does something. Then most of the time, that doesn't work out.
yeah, really just don't do it. Johannes said, I'm thinking about playing Tell in my U23 lineup this week, which
If I had
that's
him, I would.
mm,
I mean, but then again, I'm obviously influenced by my love for the kid, but like, I think he has been unreal. And Tuchel said in his interview post match as well, like, he has now saved us in multiple matches. He's getting closer and closer to the starting 11. And against Bochum at home, where the fans are going to push him on, this is where you push Tell into the starting 11 and let him establish himself.
I'd love to see it for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Just going back to the Champion Europe list, we have a Black Jimmer derby here of Liverpool and West Ham. That's always fun.
Hey, Johnny as well.
PSG.
Huh?
Which one?
I'm also Team Liverpool.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Full stack, baby.
We've got North London derby with Arsenal Spurs, Brentford.
Eat it matchup. People are probably loving the goalkeeper issue there.
And we haven't even seen it in practice yet, meaning the whole, at some point there's going to be this 60-minute substitution, and everyone
if he
just
actually does that, I mean, that is insane to me. I can't even believe that was a thought of his. Like, you're just taking it too far. I feel like some coaches are overcomplicating things now just to stand out. I mean,
I think
it's just crazy to me.
I think the result of this is going to be that he does it. He ends up doing it a few times. And as soon as it doesn't work, even if it has nothing to do with whoever he brought in, it's a penalty and they give it him, we're like, well, you conceded after you changed goalies. Like, he'll just get destroyed. I don't know. It seems very dumb to me. But
Dortmund's matchup is a nice one against Wolfsburg. That could be one where they kind of finally get back into their groove. I'm not saying Wolfsburg is an easy team to beat. They have some really good players, but if Dortmund want to turn their season around finally and do a little bit better and get a little bit more consistency after the win against Freiburg, that could be a really good moment for them to kickstart that.
Mm-hmm. I see. I just happened to notice right below them was Lens Toulouse, who both have midweeks this week. Toulouse is
Mm-hmm.
away to USG, I believe. I don't think they're home.
Mm.
So there's that. And then, yeah, I don't think anything else really jumps out. I think it's just kind of a standard
Yeah. Oh,
champion Europe.
actually, Girona down there against
Oops, sorry.
Mallorca. Biased, Johnny. But yeah, 15th Mallorca against Girona, who are currently third in the league, have been on fire,
Yeah.
doing a great job. I don't expect a clean sheet. It has not really happened yet, but I think that's going to be a game where Girona could dominate and get some good points. Union again there. They just had a heartbreaking moment against Real Madrid in the Champions League. Jude once again steps up. You know, that was really interesting to see. But it was beautiful seeing Union play there. Like their own accounts tweeted out like this was something that we dreamed of and we never thought it would become reality. So let's just enjoy this type of thing before the game started. And I love that mentality. Like their story is just insane. I believe their own fans donated blood to save up money to save the club, which was insane. Like that actually happened. That's an actual story. They had financial troubles. All their
Yeah, I
fans
remember
went
this.
out, donated blood, and that money that they got for it, they gave it to the club.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's insane.
So is the full narrative that who are they playing this weekend? Hoffenheim.
Hoffenheim.
Did they just destroy them because they're coming off this huge high of playing at the Bernabeu and just like,
I'd love it. I'd love it. But
yeah,
Hoffenheim and Kramaric and those boys have been looking quite good. Like I think Kramaric is on a heater right now,
yeah, I
if
was
I'm not
just about to say
mistaken.
that. Yeah,
They donated to blood to build the stadium, I believe. Yeah, there you go. Whatever. Like they donated blood to give the club money at the end of the day. But yeah, that there you go. He's been on some good scores with the national team and also with Hoffenheim themselves. He's always been a talented player, but he just has not had that consistency that allowed him to get that move to the next level,
yeah.
which is a shame because I think there's a really good player in there in Kramaric. But yeah, Hoffenheim is looking all right.
Let's check out some pick scores quickly in case there are any players that we missed out on. Let's go to All Star Rare, see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I know we'll see Juan Brunetta somewhere, much to the chagrin of Andy, but I guess
Rafa.
Benfica. I mean, they are big favorites. So Rafa's
Yeah.
up there. Got some Zagreb guys. Luke De Jong, who is just like permanently near the top because the
Mm.
guy. I think if you get two decisives every game for a year, it feels like you're going to be
Yeah.
near the top of this, regardless of your A. But it does feel like there are a lot of guys here who not necessarily could be rotated, but maybe you don't get 90 minutes out of Salah or Lua or Bruno probably
Bruno.
plays
Yeah.
90, but
Hey, Shuto is probably the safest choice in there, huh?
I do wonder if Zagreb rotate as well because
I'm a bit surprised that Peric guy has such a high score as a defender. Does he take sets or something? What's he doing? Is he just insane? Is that what it is?
it's just
I
you
guess they're
get
just expected to get a clean sheet and all
right.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and if he adds on 30 AA, I guess you're in a good spot.
There's an interesting comment from Ivan there. If you want to pop that up, or does that even fit the screen?
Oh yeah, because of potential rotation all over Europe, maybe it's a good weekend to use MLS players in priority lineups. Most top teams don't seem to rotate that much.
See, that's why I have Hill.
That's
I'm back in the MLS, baby.
Somebody actually said that in the comments as well. To ask you about getting back into America, and yeah, I did see
Yeah.
Carlos Gil on your in your gallery there. Let's see what. Oh, he's got his AAA. Oh man,
There you go.
looks like it's a Carlos Gil week. Let's see how far down he is.
There's a lot of
There are a lot of
AAAs.
AAAs this week. There he is.
There.
Right
Huh.
ahead of Douglas Santos, who we were talking about is probably going to smash with Zenit.
Yeah, probably easy 100, huh?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the reason why I got Hill, it's like the same thing that I did with the Feyenoord guys that I got. All of them rose in price because they were just getting into the season and stuff. And I got them while the season didn't even start. And the MLS is obviously closer towards the end now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the playoffs are coming up. So I just got him because I thought, you know what, if I want to get Phil back into the gallery, this is a really good time to do so. There's potential of him going back up again, as the new season hype at some point will inevitably come back in. So yeah, I think those are some opportunities that a lot of people should probably look into. If you're here to play Sorare for at least a year or two, um, those types of buys, apart from injuries and stuff, tend to be some of the safest ones you can make because you know you're buying at the low, at the dip, as Mr. Black would say.
It does feel like there's been a dip. Mohammed does point out that a lot of MLS teams are playing 3 game weeks in a row.
Mm,
I think some of the rotation will be, or I think there will be somewhat minimal rotation for a lot of teams that, are chasing playoff spots and whatnot. And we did see, I think it was Reynoso last night played. Did he come off at halftime? Like, that's one thing to check on of players that did play midweek that, he only
oh
played
yeah.
45 minutes and then they ended up losing. And so just because they played doesn't mean that they went 90. And so any of your MLS guys that you think might be rotating, it's worth just making sure that it's reasonable as opposed to they played 45. Obviously, we know Messi's not going to play.
Mm,
So the top option in America presumably is not going to be playing. And so opens it up a little bit. But you can always win
yeah.
Messi.
Of course.
That's the champion America calling card right now.
Yeah.
Easiest way to win Messi. Come get him.
Is it actually being given out as like as often as people hope it would? How many cards does he already have for this new season, for example?
Oh, I'm going to take the belief that not many people are selling Messi cards if they win them. But let's see. He's up to only 17 rares.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
It's only one kept reward. Some of these might be purchased rewards, but Roxy won one. That's nice. He could use a good card win. But he's always at the top of the prize pool. I'll put it that way. So
Okay, that's cool.
That's what everybody thinks they're competing for, at least. Like everybody thinks they are competing for Messi, for Mbappe, even though he's not a reward anymore. But
Yeah. Now you hope for Messi and you get Chris Brady. Sorry.
Mike Blassen said, I guess that's Aiden Morris and Julian Gressel came off at halftime last night too. So Morris has become a popular U23 option. So there's that. Man, there are a lot of AAA players here.
Yeah, there's a ton. But obviously that is just based on expecting that these guys are going to play. As we get closer to the game week, I would definitely suggest people to make sure you check those projection scores, possibly changing. If it even drops to a 99%, it's a good reason to maybe just check out Twitter, socials, and stuff, and ask people that you're in the Discord with, find out info as to why some of these players might not actually play. There has been a lot of opportunities for myself, even where some last minute info has saved some of my lineups. So I definitely recommend that.
I feel like somebody that came up somewhat recently. We always joke because like Sean, our good friend PSU fans too, is always joking that the new deadline hasn't actually helped at all. Like the news that comes out just after the deadline, he's like, "Oh, thank goodness for the new deadline." But I feel like there was something recently that did come out before the deadline. I was like, "Okay, this is actually helpful now." So
yeah, it took him like I remember because I was always bugging him with that. I'm always like, "Hey, this is really helpful. This is nice." And then maybe like 15 game weeks into the change, he was finally like, "Oh yes, finally something where it actually helps me."
yeah, was it a Bayern? I don't know. It was something.
Probably.
It was
If I was
something
talking
very
to him,
someone
probably
very
something
important.
about Bayern. Yeah.
Yeah. Shuta Machino is the top Cap 240 play this week with a cost of 52, which means surely he scores a hat trick. I got to look at these bets here on Shuta Machino.
I'm just
This
going
is
to look
too
on
good.
Hertha real quick because I think they have started badly into the season, but have gotten some okay results lately. Yeah, so they're basically winning one game, losing the next. Their last game was a 3-0 win at home. The one before that at home was a 5-0 victory. But away, they seem to struggle. So I guess that makes a lot of sense for that score for Chuto.
Do you still have a Balikwisha?
No, I sold that a long time ago, the super rare. Yeah, moved him on.
He's high up here. I wonder how Antwerp respond after getting destroyed by Barcelona earlier in the week.
Yeah. That's my fear with PSV as well. Like, it's not just the rotation risk and all that, but if your player plays midweek and his team gets just demolished, it has to do something with their psyche as they go into the next game. It is a bit worrying for me. Like PSV, I tweeted this as well. They are so used to dominating
Yeah.
games in the Eredivisie, where it's like it just looks so easy. There's so much space to run into, to play the passes into. But then they come up against a team like Arsenal, who are like on you at all times, and you can just see the quality difference. It's insane. Like if you play Sorare and you have players from PSV and you watch them all the time, you're like, oh, this team is insane. They are the best, blah blah. And then you see them come up against like top 5 league top teams. You realize, okay, there's a big difference here in terms of quality, and this was the perfect example for it.
I've had some discussions with Surface to Air Missile, who thinks that PSV will get out of this group. I forget who else is in it. It's Arsenal.
Let me see. PSV. They are in the group.
Is this the Sociedad one? Oh, it's Lens and Sevilla. So,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
possible. I mean,
yeah,
it is possible if they are on their best behavior, especially at home games against those clubs.
I,
There's a good chance you have to win the home games.
yeah, and realistically, this one was the hardest one of the group, like away to
Yes.
Arsenal. So it'll
Yeah.
not that it gets easy, but it gets easier.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw, let's see, Noah Lang came off at 76, Bakayoko at 66. Veerman did go 90, and De Jong played 89. So I wouldn't be surprised if we finally see Lozano get a start this weekend because I think he's here to play. And so
It's tough getting past those two, though. They look amazing in the Eredivisie when they play. They look unstoppable. And then
yeah.
they come up against Zinchenko and Ben White, and everything changes.
uh, Mike Basson's asking if it's Goose Till time. I don't think so. But it does seem. I mean, who do they play? They play someone terrible, right?
Almeria.
Almere. Yeah. So, I mean, Pepe, Romalo comes back in. Lozano, like they have players that can still keep up the level that PSV have been playing
Yeah.
without needing to play all of their guys who got run over by Arsenal this week.
Yeah. I'd assume De Jong plays, though. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't. But he's not necessarily someone that just runs around constantly. He's that
That's
target
fair.
man type player. So some players you can definitely expect to see there again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
There's Brunetta.
There's what?
Brunetta
Brunette. Yeah.
was right there. Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of. I feel like we could see a lot of individual high scores this week, but maybe
Mm-hmm.
not full SO5 like 500s, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, that's why I was saying, like, I believe the averages are probably going to come down a little bit. But yeah, some individual players will probably still crush it, as you said there, because some of them do really have some amazing matchups.
Right.
Right. So Lewandowski against Celta Vigo, you'd expect him to score one or two.
Mm-hmm.
Salah as well. His games in the Premier League he's just been unstoppable. His passing play has improved to a level that people didn't expect him to be able to get to. It's just nice to see that even at his age, he's still evolving. And
Do
then
you think even though you thought they
Girassi easy
conceded?
hat trick. He's just incredible right now. I think he has 8 goals in 5 games. He's just ridiculous. The Stuttgart
It's
striker there up against
yeah, yeah,
Darmstadt.
yeah. Like he shouldn't be this good.
Yeah,
That's how I put it.
yeah. But I love to see it. Stuttgart, back in the day with Jogi Löw, won the Bundesliga title, if I remember correctly. And those were interesting days when Bayern didn't dominate. So
Right.
it's nice to see them do well.
Against newly promoted Darmstadt. Yeah, that'll keep going. I
Yeah,
was looking
Stuttgart
at him the other
stacks
day.
could be quite impactful. Like they could do. I didn't see that matchup anywhere. I might have missed it, but that's a really good matchup for Stuttgart.
That is a good point. I didn't.
Did we see that in there? Have we missed it by any chance?
Looks like we did. I wonder if we don't have. Oh wait, this is midweek. Hold on.
Oh yeah,
There it is. 69. So yeah, we just missed it. Here
oh
it
yeah,
is.
yeah. There it was. Yeah, that's a really good matchup. No rotation risk, nothing. You know, they have a team that is on great form.
Man, is this going to be the week where everyone's like, Champion Europe's easy. You just need to stack Stuttgart. See? Who needs Bayern?
Yeah. I remember you guys had that once. I think someone had stacked Köln or Bochum. I can't remember. It was in like All Star Rare. You guys were discussing it on a stream with Andrew. And then he won that 1 game week, but they were completely useless the rest.
So
This, yeah.
Stuttgart has 2 5-0 wins this season,
Mm,
and I'm pretty sure both of those Champion Europe that Stuttgart stacks won
mm,
everything.
okay.
And not to say that they're going to win 5-0, but this weekend's matchup is exactly the
I
type
mean,
of matchup
who
that
did they
you
do that against again? It was against I had to
Freiburg
scroll here.
and
Yeah,
Bochum.
Freiburg was an unexpected one.
Yeah.
Bochum, yes, was kind of expected. The win away against Mainz. Mainz at home tends to be quite strong, so that's a really good indicator of like how good Stuttgart actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we saw that last season with Mainz basically deciding the German title in the last game. But yeah, like Stuttgart against Darmstadt, definitely one to look out for in terms of FSO5 strength. I'd say that's one of the strongest ones now, due to the fact that you have no rotation scare there.
Yeah, that's a
Are you
fun one.
tempted to buy some Stuttgart players now?
To be honest, I was like, because Nubel's been generally dreadful
Hmm.
for when he was with Monaco. And then when he moved, I was like, that move doesn't, like, he doesn't make this move, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go get
Hmm.
one of his cards. But if they keep it up, like even
I
his
gotta
AA has been incredible.
Yes, but also like the defense that he has ahead of him. I like Ito, but they have lost Sosa, if I'm not mistaken. He has
Yeah,
left, or
yeah, he
hasn't
went
he?
to
Yeah. So Ito,
Ajax.
I really like. Zagadu, I have no idea how he got to this level. Like, is he scoring this well all the time? Because at Dortmund, he was one of the worst defenders I had ever seen. He was horrible, like genuinely horrible. So it's very impressive to see someone like him change his career trajectory this much in such a short amount of time. Props to him. Like he's doing great. He just might have found his home. So
Yeah,
yeah, GG's
I
to
mean
him.
sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah.
Just a new scenery. I mean, yeah, I mean, given the results, they're all going to be scoring well. Ben Johnson
Mhm.
said, "I didn't think Nubel was an upgrade over Florian Mueller when he signed," which is fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Isco agreed.
Whoever went to
Negative.
Monaco. Yeah, there you go. It was horrible. Whoever went to Monaco, he's also not liked that much, apparently.
Mhm.
The replacement of Nubel, right? So A little bit of
Yeah.
goalkeeper rotation going on there that didn't work out. It was the Salzburg keeper, right? That went over there. What's his
Yeah.
name?
Colm. Philip
Yeah.
Colm.
Yeah, Kuhn. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Stuttgart stacks to the top. Whoever already dominated with them, good luck again.
They're going again. Yeah. So we've got Stuttgart in Champion Europe to win Champion Europe, Herenveen to win Challenger Europe,
and Shuto Machino to win everything.
Machino to win. What was the other one? Oh, Santos Laguna to win everything in America and Asia, and second division is up for anybody because those regions are always up for everybody.
So there you have it, guys. Just combine those teams. Have fun.
It's amazing that we give away the answers for free before the game week even happens. So thank you to everybody for joining, particularly everyone who was here live. Appreciate all the feedback and comments during the show. If you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Shout out to Quinny. Chani, thank you so much for joining me today. I thought that was a great discussion. Really let us dive in a little more than I would have if I was just here by myself rambling. So thank you very much to you.
Happy to be here.
And yeah, everyone, good luck this weekend.